Islander fans, it turns out Lou Lamoriello is still a part of the Islanders organization. We'll explain what his role is and why it's both good and bad that he's there. All that and a lot more on today's Locked On Islanders podcast.
You're Locked On Islanders, your daily podcast on the New York Islanders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday edition of the Locked On Islanders podcast. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I want to thank everyone who makes Locked On Islanders your first listen every day. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. And thank you for helping to make the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcasting network. We couldn't have done this without you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com, and you'll win $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. I'm Gil Martin. I've been covering the New York Islanders for almost 2 decades, and I wrote the book Ice Wars on the history of the Islanders' rivalry with the Rangers from 1972 till the modern era. So glad you could join us to talk a little Islanders hockey today, and we've got plenty to discuss on today's show. We find out, or have it confirmed, that Lou Lamoriello is still playing an active role with the New York Islanders. We'll talk about that and what it means for this organization. Plus, we'll talk about what I think may be the biggest debate going on right now among Islanders fans. And we will preview tonight's game against the Dallas Stars. Islanders trying to end the Stars' 5-game winning streak. Let's start with Lou. And big article in The Athletic on Monday, kind of basically saying, hey, guess what? Lou Lamoriello still involved with the New York Islanders. And he is now officially an advisor to Islanders owner Scott Malkin. And maybe a lot of everydayers would think that I would be disappointed or upset that Lou Lamoriello is still involved in the organization. But to be honest with you, I am fine with this. And I'll tell you why. Lou Lamoriello, you can say what you want, and I had my criticisms of the way he was running the team as general manager, especially over the last 3 or 4 years. I have never disrespected Lou Lamoriello. I've always said the man belongs in the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's there for a reason. And one thing about Lou Lamoriello, you can criticize some of his rules and some of the ways he did things. As a fan, the silence, the media silence was frustrating at times. The no facial hair, all of the little no high numbers, all of those little things. You know, when you win, you can get away with that. When you're not winning, people will make a big deal out of it. But the fact that, in my opinion, he stuck with the aging core of the Islanders a little too long, and some of the deals he signed were just absolutely horrendous with too many years, too many no trade clauses, too much money. You know, I think those were fair criticisms, and you can debate each and every contract and each and every move. But one thing I have never said, and I don't think too many people would say, is that Lou Lamoriello is not a class act, because he is. And the thing is, why not have somebody with all the experience that Lou Lamoriello has, a man who, you know, started working in hockey in the late 1960s as the coach of Providence College, who led the New Jersey Devils to multiple Stanley Cup wins as their general manager, who gave the Islanders more success and credibility with those back-to-back conference final runs in 2020 and 2021, who hired Barry Trotz, who gave this team a lot of the success. All of that was positive, and I give Lou Lamoriello credit for it. And the thing about Lou that I also respect is that he is not going to step on the toes of Matthew Darche. And, he said his new role, it's totally different and unique. There are more nights you sleep much better. And he's not traveling with the team. He said, I was a believer in being with the team when he was the general manager. My day is totally different. It's controlled by me. I'm not involved with the hockey side, which is the right thing. He said he did have a couple of lunches with Matthew Darche during training camp. We communicate. I am a fan of Matthew. I like him. And again, if you're Matthew Darche and there is a former general manager who's in the Hall of Fame, who is working for your organization, who you can talk to and you can bounce things off and get his opinion, and yet know that ultimately the decision, the final choice, is up to Matthew Darche, not Lou Lamoriello, I am fine with that. And Lou, as the classy individual that he is, and the way he's treated some of these players on and off the ice, you could criticize some of the contracts, you could criticize some of the trades, the cap situation, all of that. But you can never say that Lou Lamoriello didn't treat his players with respect, that he wasn't fair to them, that he didn't even go out of his way to help them. So he knows, because he's been a general manager for so long, not to step on the toes of Matthew Darche. But he's there if Darche wants to talk to him. And he did represent, for example, the New York Islanders at a Board of Governors meeting. And I think all of these things make sense because Lou Lamoriello, he is a hardworking guy. He loves hockey. He basically, he is a hockey lifer, I guess, for lack of a better way to put it. He has been the general manager in the National Hockey League for more games than any other person in league history except for David Poile. 1,470 regular season wins as an NHL GM. That's unbelievable. And so, he said, I know what the job is to be a general manager and to run a club. The independence that you need. You don't need anybody looking over your shoulder. That will never happen. I support Matthew, and if he wants to talk, I'm there. I like what he's doing, and I'm enjoying the other part of the game now. This game has been great to me. I never thought of it as being a day at work. It's really classy, and the way Lou Lamoriello is handling this, I think the way the Islanders organization is handling this, and the way Matthew Darche is handling this just works straight across the board. So, yes, Lou Lamoriello is still involved with the Islanders organization. And no, I don't have a problem with that as long as he has the attitude that he apparently has about not interfering with Matthew Darche, but being there to lend his experience, being involved in the non-hockey aspects primarily of the organization. And, you would think, oh no, Lou, he's still here. No. I'm all good with Lou still being here as long as he's not interfering in the running of the hockey side of operations. An advisor, absolutely, no problem. But, if Lou was arguing with Matthew Darche, how dare you give out high numbers, or how dare you allow the players to grow mustaches and beards, or, how can you sign this guy and not that? I don't want to see him interfering, air quotes, with the job that Darche is trying to do. But there is no indication that that is happening. So let Lou do his thing. Let Matthew Darche do his thing. If Darche wants to talk to Lou about something, he knows how to find him. And it's all good. Let's move forward. So, not a shock that Lou is still involved. The role seems right. It makes sense. And, onward we go, right? As far as the New York Islanders are concerned. We have got a lot more to discuss on today's show. We have a mailbag question about what I call the great debate facing Islanders fandom. We're going to talk about that debate and what the team should do about it. Plus, we'll preview tonight's game against the Dallas Stars. And for our Islanders birthday of the day, a recently retired Islander who you still see almost every game on Islanders broadcast. This is an easy one. But let's see if you can guess who that is. We've got all that and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by your friends at FanDuel. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team is making that late push. And Islander fans, you could use your knowledge of the Islanders and hockey to make some exciting bets on FanDuel. Check out the latest odds for tonight's game against the Dallas Stars. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com and sign up to play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Again, place that first $5 bet. If it wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Go to FanDuel.com. Check it out today. So let's talk about the great debate. And this one comes from Sean from Denver. It is an email that he sent me, and I'll get to the gist of it because he had a lot to say. But here, NHL hockey becomes a different game in the last 20 or so games than it does in the first 20. When it comes to the plan for the future, I think we need to stay on the rebuild/retool path. Even if we are in playoff contention around the trade deadline, we should either sell or stand pat. There are too many players on our team with a short shelf life. Pajot, Lee, Palmieri, they're good examples. Outside of Schaefer, most of our younger prospects are unknown to us and where they might fit in at the NHL level. I think if we can net one or two more solid draft classes, our prospect pool will be in good shape. Some have suggested that if we just add a few more players at the deadline, we can make a run. In my opinion, that would not be the right move. We can take this approach and maybe we could be a solid playoff team, but for how long? I want that this team can compete for a 5+ year window, not a 1 or 2 year window. Finally, I just want to thank you for all you do. It's a pleasure listening to your commentary and keep up the good work. Well, Sean, thank you for the kind words. I'm so glad that you enjoy what we do here at Locked On Islanders. But I got to say, I agree with you. And when Matthew Darche took over as GM in his introductory press conference, he talked about building a consistent contending team. And the organization that he was with, the Tampa Bay Lightning, was sort of his model. Shock, right? I know. But that was his model for what he wanted to build. And I get that, and I respect that. And ultimately, the way this team is put together right now, and everydayers know I've talked about this, they are still in the middle of the league. Yeah, you just went through the winning streak that ended Sunday night in Denver against the Avalanche, and they played the Avalanche well, even though they lost, and Sean from Denver was at that game. And so, look, this team, the way it's currently constructed, can they make the playoffs? Yes. Is it good if they make the playoffs? I'm fine with it. I think it will be valuable for younger players, especially like Matthew Schaefer, Cal Ritchie, to get some valuable NHL playoff experience. Emil Heineman, for example. You want those guys to get a taste because, as Sean mentioned, yeah, the last 20 games of the season are different from the first 20 games, and the playoffs are even more intense and more different than the last 20 games. Each time you sort of take it up a notch. So I have no problem with this team making the playoffs. What I do have a problem with is sacrificing the long term to try to get into the playoffs. If the Islanders are 3 points out of a playoff berth, and I'm just making up examples, hypotheticals, but if the Islanders are 3 points out of a playoff berth or 3 points in a playoff berth with a week before the trade deadline, I do not want, the last thing I want is to add and trade away draft picks or prospects in order to add to this team. And Sean mentioned, 3 guys, Pajot, Lee, Palmieri, and they do have a short shelf life based on their ages, their contract situations. Even if a guy like J.G. Pajot and a guy like Anders Lee were to sign a short-term deal, 1 year, 2 years, at a team-friendly price, you're taking away a roster spot from a guy who hopefully, whether it's Cole Yzerman or, whether it's Danny Nelson, you're taking away a roster spot from those guys who need to gain NHL experience. So I think that is part of it. And the other thing is this. You're likely to get, statistically, if you analyze the data, if you sign Anders Lee to a 3-year extension before the trade deadline, and let's even say he does the Palmieri deal, so he does a 3-year deal at $5 million a year, or 5.5, because, the cap is going up every year. His play, statistically, is likely to drop in each of the 3 years of whatever extension he would sign. You are not necessarily getting the 29-goal scorer that the Islanders had in Anders Lee a year ago. And right now, Lee has 3 goals in 19 games. So, he's on pace for about 13 goals this year. And I'm not saying he will not go on a hot streak and reach 18, 20 goals, maybe even 22, or possibly even 25. But the fact of the matter is that, to me, if you're Matthew Darche and you're the New York Islanders, I'd love to make the playoffs this year. I'd love to win a round. I would be thrilled. It would be exciting. And this team is better than they were a year ago. They're healthier. And some of the moves Matthew Darche made, the players he's added, have helped improve this team. They're more in sync with what Patrick Roy wants to do. It's a step in the right direction. But I will not agree to sacrifice the future by trading away picks, prospects, or young players to get a veteran who could help right now, but who is not going to help a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now. I would rather stand pat, or, and everydayers know I've said this, let's get a third first-round pick in this year's draft. And then even if we make the playoffs, even if we win the Stanley Cup somehow, and I really don't think that's realistic this year, but even if the Islanders go back to the conference final, make a long playoff run, even if they have the 30th pick in this year's draft as a result, ultimately, you get 3 first-round picks. You can trade 1 or 2 of those picks, or maybe, one of those picks in Kyle Palmieri, for example, an older player, a veteran, and move up to get a top 5 pick or a top 10 pick. And then, so you have 2 picks, your own and this other pick that's really good. Adding more young, talented prospects to the pool is ultimately what you want. Because remember, the scouts can rave about a player from now until kingdom come. If you hit on 50% of your first round picks and they become, all-star caliber players, you're doing outstanding. Okay? So you're not going to hit all of these prospects that we have been talking about throughout the offseason. They're not all making the NHL, and they're not all going to have the careers that scouts say they're capable of having. Some of them will get injured. Some of them will have issues. Some of them will just not, they'll have one part of their game that will not translate to the NHL, whether it's a lack of size. They're not good skaters. They need an extra half a second to get their shot away. How many prospects? Michael Dalcole, Josh Hosang, whatever the reason was, these guys never became what scouts hoped they would become. Oliver Wahlstrom. So some of these guys, you bring in the prospects, some of them are not going to make it. But I want to build that team for the future. I want this team to be the Colorado Avalanche, the Tampa Bay Lightning, the Florida Panthers, where year after year after year, when you say who are the top 5 or 6 teams that have a legitimate chance to win the Stanley Cup, I want the New York Islanders to be in that conversation over the long haul. So that's the great debate. Love to hear your thoughts on it. So comment and we'll put a poll up on the YouTube page. Love to hear your thoughts about it. We have got more to get to on today's show. We'll preview tonight's game against the red-hot Dallas Stars and discuss what it'll take to beat them, plus our Islanders birthday of the day and more coming up on today's Locked On Islanders podcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Wyatt. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've heard them all before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support, and that's where Wyatt comes in. Wyatt.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Wyatt makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships directly and discreetly to your door. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. You'll get 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use code LockedOnNHL so they know we sent you. Wyatt, stop making excuses and start making moves. Thanks again to everyone for making the Locked On Podcast Network the #1 sports podcast network. We appreciate you for helping us to reach this milestone. Islanders Stars tonight in Dallas as this very difficult 7-game road trip hits Game 6. 8 o'clock Eastern time start for this one. And the Stars, I'm telling you, they are a very good hockey team. They've won 5 in a row. They're 12-4-3. They are top 10 in the league in goals scored, middle of the pack in goals against. But hey, Casey DeSmith, Jake Ottinger, two very talented goaltenders, especially Ottinger, even though DeSmith has the better numbers right now. Who's leading this team in points? Mikko Rantanen, 26 points in 19 games. They've got Jason Robertson. You remember we talked about him over the offseason, 9 goals, 23 points. Wyatt Johnston has 11 goals to lead the team and 21 points. The power play right now, second in the league. They're scoring 1 out of every 3 times they have the man advantage. But the PK is weaker. And I think that is something that we definitely might be able to take advantage of if you're the New York Islanders. That penalty kill is 25th in the league. Maybe the Islanders' power play can do a little damage. We look at the line combinations for Dallas. Wyatt Johnston, Sam Steele, and Mikko Rantanen make a very dangerous top line. Rupe Hintz, Jason Robertson, and Tyler Seguin are a dangerous second line. On the third line, Justin Rykowian centers Oscar Back and Maverick Bork. And then on the fourth line, Radek Faksa, Colin Blackwell, and Nathan Bastian are the trio. On the blue line, Asa Lindell and Miro Heiskanen make a very dangerous top pair. Kyle Capobianco and Ilya Lyubushkin are the second duo. And then Leon Bichelle and Alex Petrovich are the third pair. Again, the goalies, Ottinger and DeSmith. Jamie Benn and Niels Lundqvist are on IR, while Matt Duchene is out, and Ilya Lyubushkin and Thomas Harley are listed as day-to-day, so we'll see if Lyubushkin is ready to play tonight. This is not an easy team to beat, and when they are playing on all cylinders, they are skilled, they are quick, and they are difficult to beat. So, again, the Islanders have been playing some really strong hockey as of late. They are capable of going toe-to-toe with anyone. We saw that against the Avalanche. We saw them outplayed by the Mammoth, but finding ways to win. Let's see if they can keep that strong play going and beat the Dallas Stars, or at least get a point against the Dallas Stars tonight. Time now for our Islanders birthday of the day. Happy 38th birthday today to former Islanders forward Cal Clutterbuck, the Welland, Ontario native, 5'11", 215 pounds, originally a third-round pick by the Minnesota Wild in 2006. Played 2 games, making his NHL debut in 07-08. Was traded to the Islanders before the 2013-2014 season, and was with the Islanders all the way through the 2023-2024 campaign, played 1,064 NHL games, 143 goals, 293 points, 698 penalty minutes. Believe it or not, Cal Clutterbuck only had 1 NHL season with 100 or more penalty minutes, and again, a member of the identity line, or what was also nicknamed the best fourth line in hockey. He was smart, he was physical, and he played the game the right way. That's how a fourth-line player gets more than 1,000 games played in an NHL career. He could kill penalties, and he was a leader in the locker room. One of his better games as an Islander, January 3rd, 2016, Islanders hosting the Dallas Stars at the Barclays Center. Kari Lehtinen, the goalie for Dallas, Tomas Greiss in between the pipes for your New York Islanders. And with the Islanders tied 2-2 after 1, Kyle Oposo and Mikhail Grabovski score, so the Islanders go up 4-2 rather. And then Cal Clutterbuck, our Islanders birthday of the day, Potts his 8th goal of the year. Travis Hamonic, Nick Leddy with the assist. That puts the Islanders up by 3. And then in the third period, the Islanders are shorthanded. Nick Leddy in the box for high sticking. Clutter scores a shorty. Casey Cizikas the assist. The Islanders hold on for a 6-5 win over the Dallas Stars. For our Islanders' birthday of the day, Cal Clutterbuck, 2 goals, including the game winner. He had 3 shots on goal and accomplished all of that in just 12 minutes and 5 seconds of ice time. Cal Clutterbuck, a longtime Islander, a class act on and off the ice, and now an MSG Network broadcaster. He is our Islanders' birthday of the day. Thank you for making Locked On Islanders your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On NHL Game Night. Every game, every night until a Stanley Cup champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. You could find NHL Game Night on Locked On NHL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you have a question, a comment, maybe a topic you'd like us to discuss on a future episode, email us at lockedonislanders@gmail.com. And if you leave your first name and where you're from, we're happy to mention you on the show when we discuss whatever's on your mind. You could follow the show on X at Locked On Isles. You could follow me, Gil Martin, on X at Ice Wars, NYRVSNYI. We'll keep you up to date on all things Islanders all year long. And I am live tweeting during nearly every Islanders home and road game. So join me for some instant insight and analysis, and it's great to talk Islanders hockey with you, game time or anytime. Everydayers, we are back tomorrow. We'll have our key takeaways and our hero and GOAT of the game from tonight's game against the Stars. And we'll have our weekly farm and prospects report, so make sure you join us for that. Until then, have a great day, everybody. Stay safe, and of course, let's go Islanders.